Well, here we are. We've been liberated again, another year. A rather extraordinary year because of that little microbe which has invaded us. Now, I interviewed my friend Trevor the other day, just shortly, and we talked mostly about the occupation. And of course, this is his patch round here. This is where he was. He's lived virtually most of his life that he's lived in Jersey. He's lived here. And he has a remarkable memory. And I'm going to speak to him again about certain aspects of the occupation and what happened after the occupation. And I think to myself, if you experience that sort of thing, how could anybody build, I've referred to it before, a housing development so awful as that one? This is social housing. This is what the war was all about, really, was it? Awful, look at that. Well, of course, most of this housing that's around here is post-war. There was obviously a ribbon development along the coast there, that was traditional. And most of those houses, one by one, they're being demolished and turned into very expensive flats or houses, which I don't know who these people are that can afford to buy them, but they're in sort of employment or work or something which generates huge amounts of money. So I don't know how that works, whereas lots of these houses down here are modest priced, or were, or they're social housing. This is a lot of social housing. Homes for the workers, of course. But that's supposed to be homes for the workers, that horrible block which is going up over there. Liberation, the process of it, doesn't seem to have armed us to deal with this process, does it? We seem to be powerless to stop these things happening. Yet we claim to have an elected government, we claim to have democracy, we claim all sorts of things. Why doesn't it work? Why doesn't it? Why do we finish up with things like that? Knowing, of course, that we have a desperate housing shortage, which was one of the great post-war liberation problems. There was a huge housing problem. A lot of slums still left over from the previous governments that used to run Jersey. They talk about people with nostalgia, how wonderful it was, but the governments in the past were appalling. Jersey government has been a corrupt, awful government for centuries. But we all dismiss it. Oh, it's wonderful. We come out and make our speeches at liberation, how wonderful the island's been. And of course, those that pay any attention know about the child abuse scandal that's gone on, which is still rumbling on. People think, oh, that's finished, that's done, we've had a £20 million report, that's the end of that. It's not. What do we do about it? What do we care about it? And I was amazed that when my friend Trevor were talking, he used to go out and play during the occupation, and the kids, they weren't afraid to go out and play. The place was alive with people carrying guns, enemies. They were declared enemies. They weren't by chance just people wandering around. These were declared enemies, and they felt perfectly safe. So what is it? What is it? There was a picture the other day of a policeman at St. Juan's or something carrying an arm on his. He had a holster with a firearm. Now that was causing distress to some people, the sight of one armed policeman, not 25,000 armed soldiers. So there's something's changed. I don't know what I can't quite work out what it is. I mean, most of this would have been farmland or marshland. It's mostly housing. There's one little field there. Look, if I can pick it up. They're gradually going to work their way across more fields there. As I've said many times before, looking out of this window, virtually no amenities for people. Virtually none. There's a little playground down there. I think it's out of bounds at the moment due to the perverse circumstances of the virus. There's a couple of bits of washing hand out over there on the ground there, but people do use that bit of grass. No ball games, of course, allowed on it. It's a space, but it's an illusion of space. Now, obviously, that prison block they're building over there has got virtually no private usable space. You can sit there. It's like being in the prison yard to go over there. I mean, it's all, I don't know how many hundreds of people are going to live there, and they're going to have visitors around. And I just find it. What are we trying to do? What are we? This is 75 years after the liberation, and it's still. Well, what is it like this? I mean, what is this? Just housing, housing, housing. Nothing else here, is there? Well, that's not life, is it? There's not a filing system, just a filing. I'm in a toll block. It's okay, that looks like a filing cabinet. But this is just a horizontal filing cabinet, isn't it? It just goes out. And why? Where's the pleasure in it? There's a pleasure over there. There's a beach. Again, a bit restricted use at the moment, but a beach is only usable for a few months of the year. And not everybody wants to go on the beach. Not everybody's suited to the beach. I don't know. This is liberation. This is post-liberation. Is it enough just to have enough food? Is that enough? There was a shortage. My friend Trevor, he was saying, well, you know, places like Caen, Bristol, my town, Bristol, London, thousands and thousands of people killed by bombs dropping. Well, I don't know. What happened here was dreadful. But it wasn't as dreadful as what happened in other places, and is still happening around the world. Obviously, we see the pictures of the Yemen. We don't give a damn. We don't give a thought for the Yemen. Our liberation, but we supply the bombs. We supply the bombs to bomb the Yemenis people. Well, where's the justice in that? What sort of idiots are we? It's always disturbing. These patriotic occasions get me going when they always dress up in military uniforms and parade. This year, to an extent, I was glad it didn't take place, because it said, oh, perhaps it'll be reconsidered in future. Perhaps they won't turn it into a glorification of a war. I hate it because it's jingoism that goes with it, and I think it's dreadful. Remembering our glorious dead, yes. I'm glad I didn't die in a conflict. But why did they? Why is it necessary? Why are people dying now in conflict? I don't know. This island is awash with money, has been awash with money. Whether it'll still be awash with money after this virus has gone away and cleaned out the treasury, I do not know. But I feel sure it'll recover. But will it recover with the finance industry, or will they find some more honest activity be involved with? Of course, traditionally, as I keep saying, Jersey's always been involved in smuggling, privateering, piracy. These were never ethical activities. This is the background. This is, again, part of the tradition which isn't talked about. People say, oh, a wonderful, glorious tradition. It's not talked about, but it was a lot of it, as it was in other places, was quite sordid, really. So, 75 years of liberation, I think to myself, well, it's a strange sort of liberation, isn't it? And the funny thing is, I'm not aware, I don't know, I haven't been away from Bristol for a long time, I don't know what goes on in Bristol on their anniversary, when they say the war ended, May the 8th, whatever it was, what was the official day, Victory in Europe Day. I don't know what goes on in Bristol. Is they singing? Have they got beautiful Jersey, beautiful Bristol? Do they sing? I don't know. Do they sing beautiful Bristol? I don't know. It doesn't bother me that. It doesn't interest me that much. I love history. I love to know what's happened, but I like to relate it to what's going on now. And this, to me, this is anywhere, isn't it? This is anywhere. Is this anything to do with Jersey? I don't know. I'm in a bad mood today, as you will gather. So maybe when I interview Trevor again, perhaps he will put me back on a better way of thinking. Perhaps he will restore my faith. He survived. He seems a happy enough chap, and he's had some disasters in his life. There we are. We shall see.